Most people think that skill wins, and it usually does, but not always. Because untrained men, especially with street experience, they don't care about form, rules, or technique. They care more about surviving and dominating you. That's all that matters to them. And that's why naturally they use deception, setups, and psychological traps. And sometimes that's all it takes. Now, some people just simply know how to get it done. A little anecdotal story. I remember when I was growing up as a teenager, there were two groups of guys. There were the lads that didn't train martial arts and the lads that did. And the ones that didn't train martial arts could handle themselves in a fight. They learned how to fight by various tactics, and these tactics were passed from group to group, from person to person, or they simply saw someone else doing it and they tried it themselves. And they're common, easy to follow, because everybody wants an advantage in a fight. And in a real world, you will take every advantage that you can. And that's why people use weapons, because if they didn't want an advantage, who would draw a knife or a pistol? These are 7 street tactics that can beat a trained fighter. So keep watching. Have you seen these tactics before? Drop me a comment below. Tactic number 1, the instinct hack. Now this is as old as time itself, something learned from experience. It's a classic: spit in your face, flick a cigarette at you, throw a drink in your face. Some people even carry pocket sand. Yes, they do. He spits in your face. Now it seems disgusting, random, or even disrespectful. But it's calculated. He's not just trying to insult you. He's hacking your natural instincts. Your brain wants to flinch, look away, or wipe your eyes. And in that moment, boom, boom, he lands the first punch. It's not about power and precision. It's about distraction. Because ultimately, the idea is to hack your flinch reactions. Even if you are a trained fighter, you still have a nervous system that's going to react to anything that comes close to your eyes. Tactic 2, the apology ambush. Hey buddy, I didn't mean to bump into you. His voice is soft, his hands are low, you relax and your guard drops. And that's when he hits you fast and committed. The fake apology is just a trap. It makes you hesitate and gives him an opportunity. Trained fighters are used to fighting someone who's agreed to fight them. It's a mutual agreement for combat. So if someone suddenly backs down or gives the indication that they don't want to fight anymore, quite often that has a psychological D-switch for any fighter, because they're no longer engaged in mutual combat. And that deception is quite dangerous when you're well trained. Tactic 3, the sucker punch setup. He backs off calmly. Maybe he even turns away and you think it's over. Or even maybe he's scared. Then out of nowhere, a wild punch swings in. This is how a lot of street fights start. Not with a face-off, but with a false surrender. It's quite cunning. It catches trained fighters for the same reason, purely because they see a lack of intention to fight. Tactic 4, the buddy setup. He brings his mates to the game. You're arguing with one guy and meanwhile his mate's circling behind you. He's drawing your focus. You see, it's not a fair fight. It's a setup, and it was never going to be fair from the start. And while you're focusing on ego and words, your blind spot is there for the taking. One punch from behind and it's over before it even begins. Now this is a classic that plays on tunnel vision, and it doesn't matter how well you think you're trained to fight. If you focus on the guy in front of you, you'll miss someone circling behind you. And this is something that you'll never experience on one-on-one fight when you're in the gym. It's a very simple physiological trigger. You focus on that guy in front of you that's screaming and shouting or drawing your attention, but that tunnel vision leaves you exposed. Now, quite often, trained fighters, when they're fighting or sparring, they have tunnel vision on the person that's focused in front of them. And this is the difference between fighting one-on-one in the gym and fighting in the street. That's going to lead you to a form of tunnel vision, because when you're sparring and you're fighting, you're focused on the person in front of you, not what's happening around you. And that doesn't necessarily translate to the street, to an urban environment in which there's chairs, bottles and people. So never focus intently on the guy in front of you. Look at them, scan around. Look at them, scan around. Try to make sure you've got a good 360-degree awareness of what's happening around you. Tactic number 5, the concealed weapon draw. Now everybody knows that the hands indicate danger. That's why I wave my hands around a lot. But that said, if you can't see their hands, it's an obvious red flag. Most guys who have street experience in fighting know how to blade their body in a way that hides the weapon hand or the draw of their weapon. And they may not just have one weapon, they may be carrying multiple weapons around their body. But the key here is distraction to a weapon drawer. He reaches into his pocket or adjusts his waistband, but that's how weapons come out, hidden in plain sight. Most people don't realize that a weapon's coming until it's far too late. I mean, this guy doesn't posture or warn you, he just draws and goes. So if you miss those signs, you miss the signs to act. So most people will always advise distance is key, but observation and understanding the situation before it kicks off will go much further when you're an experienced fighter. Recognizing those early signs and knowing where their hands are can make a difference in your self-defense. Tactic number 6, the coat trap. You gotta love this. How many lads take their coat off? Now, yes, it's a practical thing so someone doesn't grab hold of you, but at the same time, it leaves you quite vulnerable for someone to punch you. You see a guy taking his coat off, that's the opportunity to punch him in the face because his hands are occupied, his focus is gone. But then on the other hand, it works the other way. Sometimes, if the guy's clever, he'll punch you while you're taking your coat off. Don't be that fool. But then on the other hand, he starts taking his coat off or even maybe rolling his sleeves up and something switches off in your brain because you're waiting for him to finish. But then mid-movement, bam, the punch comes in. You see, it's not about skill, it's about timing and catching you off guard. Trained fighters, they're used to a pre-set up anyway. Whoever they're fighting has already taken their coat off. You see, those guys, they don't disrobe to fight and you don't disrobe to fight. So that trigger and that reaction is always going to be slightly off because you're waiting politely for them to do that, but don't. As soon as someone tries to take their coat off, you punch them. Tactic 7, the distance trick. Now he looks relaxed, slouched, even his hands low. And while talking, he subtly closes the distance. And when he's inside your range, he explodes. You don't even see it coming because that calm body language lulled you into a false sense of security. Now I say this all the time. People will walk in and out of your space. They'll do it in nervous fashions. And if they know what they're doing, they'll inch slowly and slowly into your personal space whilst they're distracting you in an argument. It's the guy that points his finger at you and while he's pointing his finger at you is slowly incrementing closer and closer to you and maybe even getting ready for a weapon draw or a headbutt or a grab and stab. That person is tricking their way into your personal space and you have to manage your distance accordingly. Now this should be bread and butter for any trained fighter. You know if someone's coming within your striking zone either to strike or maintain your distance. Sometimes, even if you have the fighting skills, but you don't have a clear mind, you'll miss those subtle changes of distance that'll get you into trouble. And this has nothing to do with how well you can fight, and we're all susceptible to it. So be mindful of the person that's tricking their way by hiding their distance change behind subtle changes in their behaviour. Now these tactics work because they break the mental rhythm of a trained fighter. You see, good fighters expect structure, a signal, a stance, a go. But someone who's got street experience, they won't give you any of that. These guys use distraction, surprise, timing, and even the environment. Ultimately, they don't fight to impress. They fight to win, and that makes them dangerous. On the one hand, you've got people that have learned to fight from experience. They've grown up in the streets, they learn to use weapons, they learn to use tactics, and they learn that by experience of doing. And then you have another group of people that learn to fight formally. They learn to punch, they learn to kick, they learn to manage distance. But the equivalent is always going to be the same. If someone's been fighting on the street with street tactics that they've learned from experience, that's going to be very, very different to someone that's learned to fight in a dojo. Whatever you're training for has to be situational specific. If you're training for the street, then you have to incorporate some of these street tactics or be aware of them. So what's the takeaway? Well, skill matters, but mindset matters more. It goes without saying that you need to train for the chaos and the deception more so. There's always going to be a distinction between those people that have street experience and those people that have gym experience and those trained people that can fight really well, can knock people out and put them on the ground. But that doesn't necessarily count when you're talking about these old boy tactics, because this is what real violence looks like. Thanks for watching.